Imagine you are walking a lane that no longer bends on any map, yet remembers every footfall. The road is rutted and kind, pressed by hooves and wooden wheels, brushed by hems and bare soles. The air has the mild sweetness of late summer hay, and the sharper edge of damp soil. On your right, a river turns in a slow silver, edging reeds and willow, carrying the murmur of far places into this small one. There is wind along your cheek, a patient companion, lifting your hair and setting. The hedges whispering, ahead the village appears the way dawn does, gradual, gentle, certain. Thatched roofs crouch low, stitched with hazel pegs. Oak frames stand like rib cages, each beam dark with age and smoke. The church's squat tower keeps quiet watch, more shepherd than sentinel. Geese debate in the lane. A child laughs and then forgets why. The smell of baking drifts from a brick mouth, cracking crust into song. Somewhere, a hammer keeps a steady time. 1, 2, 3, and pause. You come to the green, a worn circle where the grass has learned to be trampled and still grow. An elm lifts its arms and lets the light sift through in coins. At its roots lie the tools of evening, iron rings, smooth with use, a board scored with lines, a pair of ash staves, a bundle of skittles smelling faintly of resin. None of it shines. All of it belongs. You look, and it feels like finding old words on your tongue. The village is a rhythm. Work and pause. Prayer and play. The people move within it as swallows move through air, each body holding a knowledge the mind rarely names. They tend strips of field laid in narrow ribbons, walk furlongs by habit, tie knots by feel, count time by chores and bells. When they play, they do not step out of life. They bring life with them. Every touch of iron, wood, and rope holds memory. You, who live mostly in thought, will lose here, not because you are small, but because their days are braided to their games. The smith stands in the shade of his doorway, blackened and bright-eyed. He cools an iron ring and listens to it sing against the bucket wall. The baker, flour up his sleeves, leans a tray of loaves on the sill, smiling at their split crowns. Women trade news along the edge of the green, baskets full of onions and plans. A mongrel with one ear cocked keeps the peace by simply lying in it. The river lays its own peace over everything, a hush you can hear. A man in a leather jerkin tips a ring into your hand. The iron is heavier than it looks, like a truth. He does not tell you how to throw, he lets the weight teach you. He nods at a pegged stake set back on the green. The wind moves left to right in a thin stripe you would not have seen if the elm did not flicker. You shift your feet. He only waits. Elsewhere, two girls draw a 9 men's Morris grid on a flat board with a bit of charcoal. They set 9 white pebbles on one side, 9 dark on the other, and sit with their skirts tucked under. The older one taps a rhythm on the board, a drummer for patience. Near them, a boy coils a rope and knows how to make it behave. Another child balances a skittle on her palm as if it were a bird. Games are not escape. They are mirrors. Quoits teaches the hand to know the wind. The board game teaches the eye to find lines in a crowd. The bow teaches the heart to be quiet while the arm moves. The ball teaches the body to belong to other bodies. Dice teaches chance and the shape of evening. In this century and any other, people need to practice being human without consequence. That is why the green is sacred in a simple way, like a well or a cradle. You try the ring. You hold the iron, feeling the calluses you do not have. Your wrist has not spent years lifting pails or reaping in arc after arc. You are strong in other ways. Not here, not yet. You draw your arm back, smooth as you can. The ring leaves your fingers and shadows through the soft air. A small moon turning once, twice, then landing just shy of the peg with a polite kiss to the earth. The smith's mouth makes a shape that might be a smile. The man in leather nods. The dog sighs, which
is always a compliment. Losing like this is a comfort.
it is like entering a story already told well. You become a listener with your whole body. Every missed peg, every near ring, every skittle left standing says quietly, live more with your hands. Feel the wind. Notice where your toes find ground. These people shape wood and soil and bread each day. Their muscle remembers more than your mind imagines. You are not wrong. You are simply new. A breeze passes. The hedges show you the direction if you watch the underside of the leaves. Smoke from the baker's roof slants. The river darkens where a cloud becomes a thought. Bells do not ring, but you can hear the time in other ways. The shadow crossing. The green, the cooling of iron, the slowing of shouting geese. Partridges drum their wings beyond the stubble. A horse flicks flies with a tail that has solved this problem for years. The man throws. He does not look at his hand. He looks at the air between him and the peg. His arm moves as if he had been arranging wind all his life. The ring settles true, and the sound it makes is not a clink, but a meeting. You feel your shoulders drop, as if you have been told a simple secret about how to be here. The secret has no words in it. Stay. Notice. Breathe with the place you stand. A woman passes with a bundle of sticks, nods once, and steps on. Her eyes rest on the children at the board. She had a brother who always moved early and paid for it. She has a daughter who watches too much and moves too late. She loves both kinds, as the river loves both bank and current. She sees you and knows at once that you are a new kind, a visitor who wants to belong. She says nothing. She does not need to. Farther off, an old man leans against the elm as if they were made together. He has a face made of years of sun and thin winters and alehouse laughter. The skin around his eyes is a map of times he failed and remained whole. He watches the lane as if waiting for someone who is long dead and still too late. He will teach you nothing in words. He will be there when you learn. You taste the air, and it has turned a degree cooler. Dusk is a hand on your shoulder. The first star is at the edge of sight, ready to solve a problem you cannot name. The green holds the day in its open palm and will soon close its fingers. Someone brings a lantern and sets it where a skittle's shadow makes a neat line. A cat pretends. This is not interesting. A cat is rarely honest about wonder. Imagine you are here not only to know how to lose, but to understand why losing can be a form of belonging. If you had come to win, you would have missed the way the river gives you your breath back. You would have missed the scent of yeast and ash. You would have missed how the elm lets night pass through it. You would have missed the smith's pride, quiet as a stone holding heat. You would have missed yourself, in other words, the self that is small inside a larger kindness. You try again. The iron greets your palm like an old friend who still expects your best. You stand not straighter, but kinder. You watch the leaves. You notice where your thumb sits. You move. The ring flies. It kisses the peg and falls away. It is a near win, which is a good teacher. You accept it. In accepting, you feel a place inside you shift. like a door on the right hinge. Around you, voices turn softer. The day has done its labor and asks you to put down yours. Someone tells a story about a pig that refused to leave a garden. Someone makes a joke that has survived for 3 generations and will survive 3 more. The children gather stones. They do not know they are learning to count moves on a board, and also hours in a life. They will forget this evening by morning and remember it years from now, finding it whole as a loaf in the oven of their memory. The river says one last thing before dark changes its tone. Carry less. The road behind you says come back. The village says, we are here when you are ready to lose again with grace. You nod to the man in leather. You thank the iron without words. You step back from the line. Your heart has been a little bell all along, and now it rings once, steady and low. Sleep will find you because you are no longer finding yourself alone. The elm has taken some of your worry, the bell tower, some of your pride, the dog, some of your noise, the ground, some of your weight. You are lighter in a way that does not float you away. You are anchored in a way that does not hold you down. In the near dark, the last throw falls true, and no one cheers. They simply nod, and the sound of the ring over the peg is enough. A lantern guttered and then steadied. The river bent and went on. You breathed, you were here, you will lose again tomorrow, and you will be better for it. Evening comes like a shawl laid over shoulders, soft, useful, familiar. The green gathers the light into small harvests, a glow on the iron, a wash on the bark, a honeyed edge on a face turned to listen. You stand at the marked line, and the stake waits across the grass like a calm question. The iron rings lie in a small, proud stack, each one speaking its own dialect of weight. Quoits look simple. Throw the ring, catch the peg. But simplicity is a trick of distance. Up close, the game is made of 100 quiet choices. Where you place your feet. Whether you exhale at the end of the swing or before it. How you let your fingers part from metal, as if saying farewell to a friend at a gate. Not too quick, not too late. The smith made these rings from memory as his father did. He thinks of the way iron moves when it is nearly a liquid and also nearly a stone. He thinks of the quoit that split when he struck too cold and the lesson it hissed. He sees you hold the ring and understands your hand as a kind of question. He gives no answers. He lets the iron reply. Wind is the real player. It comes out of the low meadows with the scent of water and cut reed, bends around the elm and modestly tugs at sleeves. When a ring turns in that wind, it learns humility. When a hand throws into that wind, it learns to speak softly. You watch the leaves to read the sentences. The leaves whisper, then hush, then whisper again. You wait for the hush. Around you, the village eases into itself. A woman hums while she sets skittles upright, her tune the line between day and night. 2 boys test the weight of staves, stretching their arms to feel the length. A girl carries a clay cup carefully, as if it were full of stars. A mason with white dust on his cuffs watches your stance and remembers the first time he placed a stone and trusted it not to move. The man in the leather jerkin steps up. He is not special in town, not a reeve or a priest or a great farmer. He is simply someone who knows how to listen to iron. He holds the ring with a loose kindness. His eyes mark the peg, and then the space before it, as if aiming at the idea of true rather than the thing. His arm turns like a page being turned by a careful hand. The ring lifts, pauses in its own thought, and slides down over the peg as if finding its home by smell. You clap once, quietly. Here, victory is not spectacle. It is relief. Proof that patience had a place to go. He nods, and when he nods, he is agreeing with the hour, not boasting over the moment. He steps back. He lets you go next, not to test you, but to keep the river of turns flowing. You fail again, and better. You graze the peg. The metal lips it, and then falls away. The sound is a note you will recognize later as your own progress. You do not frown. You let the shape of this almost carve a small door in you. The door is labeled Keep. An old woman sits on a low stool near the hedge and tells a child how her father used to throw. He knew the air, she says. The child looks up at the invisible. How do you know air? He asks. She smiles. By what it moves, she answers. He watches the leaves. He watches your sleeve. He watches a curl of smoke lean. He learns. Coates also measures the body's old agreements. Feet agree with knees, knees with hips, hips with spine, spine with breath, breath with hand. If one part refuses, the ring knows. It flies with a wobble that tells the truth. You have spent years training other agreements. Eye with screen, thought with schedule, will with worry. Here you are, learning the body's democracy. Everyone votes and the result is flight. A quail calls from the scrub beyond the last strip. A cow shifts and makes a low river of sound. The bell in the tower remembers it can ring and decides it will not. Your heart is quieter than it was at noon. The iron feels warmer in your hand, as if it remembered you while it lay in the grass. Let the ring leave clean, the smith says finally, as if offering a blessing rather than advice. You do what you can. Ease the last 3 fingers. Keep the thumb a friend, not a jailer. Lift from the shoulder, not the wrist. The ring glides, it clinks against the peg, lifts and falls, tipped by the night's small wind. You smile anyway. Your smile is not a separate thing from your throw, it belongs. In another part of the green, a child drops a pebble on the 9 men's Morris board and learns that placement is a kind of politeness. In another corner, a dog dreams of running along a different river and makes a sound like brushed wool. In the sky, the first bat writes lines no one else can read, but everyone understands. All this is also part of your throw. Coates is the center, but the world is the circumference. Someone lights a barn lantern and hangs it where iron can borrow light. The flame dances against its own glass, a wind-taught pupil. You watch it and learn a little about the steadiness that must hold even while the edges move. You look again at the peg, not at its top, which is proud, but at its shy middle. Aim for humility, and you will often find success. Aim for pride, and you will often find air. You step, you swing, you let go. The ring hums, a small halo loosed from every sermon you've ever heard about trying. Tonight, trying isn't a strain. It is a curiosity. Where will the ring go if I meet the wind halfway? Where will it go if I remember that gravity is not a punishment but a promise? The ring answers patiently. Here. Near. Soon. The man in the leather jerkin picks up your ring and hands it back. His palm is rough. Your palm learns the language of roughness, how it means work, not harm, how it means trust, not threat. He does not correct your stance. He does not add words to your head. He stands with you until the hush comes again. You throw, you miss. He says, good. He means it. Beyond the hedges, the forest stores colder
Air. It sends a ribbon of it along the ground. You feel it at your ankles. The grass is no longer warm, yet it gives easily underfoot. Stars appear, ordinary miracles. One long streak crosses the sky, erased and remembered all at once. You glance
up and nearly lose your turn, which is also a lesson. Beauty is a valid interruption. The last throw of the evening is not yours. It is the boy's, the one who watched leaves and sleeves and smoke. He stands with his feet awkwardly precise. He laughs once, not at anyone, but at the tadpole of a thrill inside him. He lifts his arm. He lets the ring go wrong, then right.
all in the same motion. It arcs, then shears, then settles with such grace that everyone is silent for a breath. Then they breathe out together, which is what passes for applause here. You are glad, not jealous, not small. It surprises you and
does not. The green has taught you in an hour what your world often forgets. Someone else's skill can be the candle that lights your own rest. You look at the boy, and in that looking, you are the kind of ancestor he deserves. Present, not instructing. Proud, not hungry. The lantern is lifted. Its light stretches and thins. Rings are gathered, counted by touch. Peg pulled. Lines blown away with a gentle shoe. The smith closes his door. The baker covers his last loaf. The river enters the part of its work that only night understands. You walk the lane back through hedges that have become darker rooms, and the air smells of damp straw and a little smoke. If you listen closely, the iron still rings. But now it is your breath doing the ringing, quiet even, sure. You lie down in straw or linen, and the day places a hand on your brow and says what the wind said to the ring. Leave clean. You go. Morning often begins grey, as if the world wakes inside a clay mug. By noon, light finds edges and fills them. By afternoon, it pools at doorways and carries the scent of molten bread. You sit on a bench outside the alehouse where a broad, flat board waits, dark with use and scored with lines in neat squares inside squares. It is a small map of a larger patience. 9 Men's Morris is not young. It wears the same coat in many places and times. Here, in this year, it sits as easily
as a hen on her eggs.
The rules are simple. Place 9 stones, then slide them along the lines, making mills, 3 in a row, to lift one of your opponent's pieces. Simple and not. 2 women place their pebbles by turns, 1 white, 1 dark. Their hands are sure. They have spun wool all morning. They have poured water, measured grain, set dough under cloth. Those chores taught them lines and circles, give and take, beginning and rest. The board is a new field with old furrows. They move as if they already know where the harvest lies. You watch. The first phase is a kindness. Place, place, place. Quick thinking hides under slower movement. One woman looks at the corners, laid like small porches where pieces may rest and look long ways. The other woman watches the middle paths where a stone can become a door. Neither rushes. They touch each pebble as if it were warm. The ale wife brings mugs and sets them within reach. her bracelets making a soft river of sound. She smiles at the players and at you, not for custom, but because the day has turned good. A stable boy leans, wiping his hands on straw, then pretends he was never interested. An old man frowns at a memory as if to bring it closer. All this is the room where the game lives. A mill is made with a small, bright breath, 3 stones in a row. The woman with the corner plan lifts one of her friend's pieces and sets it aside with a grace that says, "I take from you, and still we sit together." The board empties and fills in equal measure. The roads across it become narrow and crowded. Traps form like puddles. Hopes go nowhere. Hopes go far. You imagine your own hands there. You would want to move quickly and prove you are clever. The board hates that. It prefers the way fields are loved, by season. In the placing, you love the ground. In the moving, you love the path. In the lifting, you love the loss and still look to the next sowing. The board watches for your breath to slow. When it does, it gives back. Numbers whisper beneath the wood. 3, 9, 1. Patterns fold and unfold. The women build mills not only to lift stones, but to open lanes. A false mill here to draw a guard. A true mill there to open a flank. You could call it war, but no one bleeds. You could call it argument, but no one goes home angry. You could call it a song because the refrain returns and is welcome. The children redraw the lines with
a coal nub when a seam of wood darkens.
They know the shape by heart. They could draw it in frost on a fence, and sometimes do. The alehouse wall holds handfuls of old boards where men have carved the same pattern with knives when rain kept them inside. There is comfort in rules, and deeper comfort in how much room rules give if you yield to them. When the game turns, it does so quietly. One woman's stone slides, and suddenly the board opens like a gate into a garden you did not think existed. She makes one mill, then another, moving a single piece back and forth along a short road. Each time she lifts an opponent's stone, and each time she offers a small apology with her eyes, as if for stepping on a hem. The other woman laughs, shakes her head, and says, "I left you that lane," with a pride that admits a mistake as a gift. You understand why you would lose, not because you cannot see lines, but because you try to see too many at once. The village teaches one line and then the next. The way winter teaches you to mend and spring to sow. You will learn to hold the board in your hand like a half-full bowl and move so nothing spills. The alehouse cat slips under the bench and becomes a warm ankle. A bee tests the foam at the lip of a mug and decides against it. A man tells a story at the door about a fish that was all bone and got away anyway. Clouds drift as if trying to memorize the roof lines. The day is a listener. The board is a speaker. The women are a choir with 2 voices that fill the room as if there were 20. In the end, a single stone remains unlifted on the losing side, and it cannot move. There are no more roads. There is only the truth of having chosen. The women sit back together, cups to lips, and the losing woman says, "Next time I guard the center." The winning woman says, "Next time I guard your corners." They plan for each other the way neighbors do, kind and competitive, generous and exact. You place your own stones now, guided by their near smiles. You do not try to be clever, you try to be present. Pebble, pebble, pebble. Your fingers learn the weight of small certainty. When you finally slide a piece along a line and close your first mill, it is as quiet as dust settling and as momentous as a bell. You lift one of theirs with care and set it aside as if it will be needed later, because in a way, it will. The memory of it will become part of how you move tomorrow. If anyone were to ask why this matters, you could answer, because a life is arranged like this board. You place what you have, then you move what remains, making small threes where you can, opening roads, closing others, losing, regaining, until the day says enough. The green and the alehouse and the lane and the river agree. Enough is not an ending. It is a kindness. The sun tilts, the board is cleared, the coal nub redraws a line that faded, hands brush crumbs off the ale bench, someone yawns. The river lowers its voice. You stand and feel in your body a square inside a square. The pattern has settled where your breath is. Later, when you try to sleep, you will move a single thought along a single line and find your own mill, lift a worry, and set it aside. The hazel trees at the edge of the common hold a shade that tastes green. Leaves clap gently above you, and sunlight filters down in little promises. Targets lean against a bank, round, woven, patient. The ground here is a story of footfalls and flattened grass, and the air is a story of held breath and let go. Archery is not a game only, it is a craft and a history. But here, under these hazels, it is also a quiet. Bows curve like question marks seeking answers inside the body. Strings
murmur when plucked, feathers flick and wait.
You step into the place where noise goes to learn good manners. A man stands with a bow that has learned his hand. The wood, yew or elm, carries years of weather in its grain, and your fingers feel those rings as if touching a sleeping animal's rib cage. He shows you nothing first. He stands, feet sure, knees soft, shoulders level. He looks as if he could stand like that for an afternoon and never grow stiff. He looks as if the ground is returning his trust. When he lifts the bow, he does not rush. The string comes back, and with it, everything that wants to rush out of you, talk, worry, proving. He holds, but it is not a hard hold. It is a resting in a moment that can bear you. His eye finds the middle of the target's middle, which is mostly not looking at the painted rings at all. It is letting the quiet line between heart and hand choose for him. The release is a small mercy. The arrow leaves without a thrum or hiss, just a whisper, like a ribbon of river water over stone. It lands deep, not dead center, no one needs that, but true enough to make the body of the bowman longer with relief. He breathes, everyone around him breathes, trees breathe, even the ground seems to inhale. You take a bow, and it does not yet approve of you. That is honest. It asks your shoulders whether they have split wood, carried water, lifted children, hefted sacks, all the years of work that make this draw steady. Your shoulders answer haltingly. Your first draw trembles. You do not shoot. He nods. That nod says, "Not yet," is also an arrow. He speaks softly, not to heap words on you, but to give you three that matter. Stance, breath, follow. He points to your feet, one open to the target, one anchoring the line of your body. He points to your belly where breath should grow. He points not at the target, but past it, to show you that release is not an end. The arrow continues inside you after it leaves. You try again. You breathe to your heels, which sounds strange until it is not. You raise. You draw. Your fingers find the string, not grabbing, but receiving. The feathers brush your cheek in a kiss that feels like consent. You let go and do not reach forward. You allow the arrow to do what arrows have done since someone first noticed that a bent branch keeps a promise. It sticks in the outer ring. It is perfect. Under the hazel, people wait their turns and think their thoughts. One thinks of a brother in a distant shire and sends arrows as if messages could ride them. One thinks of a sick cow and sets worry aside long enough to aim. One thinks of nothing but the way the string hums between finger and thumb. Children chase feathers in the grass and invent a game with rules that will not last to supper. The hazel leaves keep saying yes to wind. Yes, yes, yes. The sound enters your ear and becomes patience. The target, woven of straw and stubbornness, does its part without praise. It receives each arrow as if a letter addressed, "Dear, today I am here." Yours sincerely, this breath, the letters pile. The day answers. You ask yourself why you would lose at this, as you would at quoits and at the board. The answer settles like dust. Because your life has asked different muscles for their loyalty. You are not missing anything. You are not wrong. You are simply unbraided from these materials and this weather. Rebraiding takes time. Time is what the hazels have to give. A bird calls, sudden and sweet, and you startle so your next arrow goes
wide. No one laughs. The man's face folds into a new smile, one that says he has missed for all the reasons there are. Birdsong, sneeze, memory, fear, joy, the sun in the eye, the itch on the face, the thought of rain, the thought of love.
Missing is not a sin, it is a map of being alive. When you finally place 3 arrows in a close, shy cluster, you do not cheer. You nod. Your body nods. Your breath nods. The bow, now a little more approving, rests against your leg as if to say, "We could be friends." You have done nothing grand. You have only listened. That is what these games want from you. Attention without hurry, effort without fight, presence without pride. You step back and let others step forward. The ground holds all of you in equal measure. Somewhere beyond the hedges, a farmer calls to a boy, and the boy runs, his feet knowing every molehill. Someone carries a pail and does not spill. Someone scrapes a plate with a sound that makes a dog open one eye. You stand in the shade and let the leaving of arrow after arrow sweep your thoughts clean. Later, you will lie awake and feel the string still on your fingers, the feather at your cheek, the bow's curve humming in your ribs. You will sleep inside that curve and wake a little more true. Dusk draws the color from things, leaving shape and touch. A lantern is hung on a barn nail, and its light makes a small lake on the packed earth. Skittles stand at one end, 9 little wooden people ready to be persuaded. The ball is not truly
round. It knows the grain of the wood and the patient bias of time. The lane smells of chaff and old hay.
A swallow skims once, then disappears into the eaves where her nest holds more need than room. The first stars are coins you can almost reach if you climb the stacked carts. Children are allowed to stay, but quieter, the way water stays when it is held in a good cup. The game begins. Skittles is a conversation between weight and direction. You stand with the ball heavy in your hand, feeling its own opinion about where it wants to go. The ground is not level, but even if it were, it would still be itself. Earth remembers who walked on it, and who fell, who knelt, and who danced. The man who first shows you does not line his toes by chance. He knows where the tiny slope in the barn floor will lean his throw if he lets it. The first roll is not for show, it is for reading. The ball goes and declares the day's truth. The dirt is a little damp at the left. The right skittle has a stubborn foot. You learn by watching. Everyone does. A woman adjusts her stance a thumb width and takes 4 in a friendly tumble that makes the lantern smile on their polished heads. A boy follows, thinking only of speed, and the ball leaps, kisses a skittle, and naps in the straw. You send the ball, and it pulls to the low side, humbly disobeying. You have aimed too far right, trusting your eye more than the barn floor. This is a place where the body learns the ground's biography in a minute. You step, you shift, you roll again, softer. 3 fall with a sigh that makes you feel forgiven. There is laughter, but it is slow and warm. Someone quotes a saying that no longer has its edges, and everyone agrees anyway. The lantern flame tilts and then stands up again. A moth makes a choice it cannot understand and is saved by a hand cupped around the glass, then released to the night. You do not have to be useful here, you only have to join. Skittles teaches you limits, then shows you how gentle limits can be. The ball cannot turn, the pin stands where it stands, the lantern will not grow brighter for your effort. But within these boundaries, you can be many kinds of deft. You can be the one who rolls low and true, and you can be the one who throws a wild first and learns on the second. You can be the one who picks up fallen skittles as if they were sleeping children. Stories appear like smoke from rafters. Someone remembers a harvest when the grain came heavy and clean. Someone remembers a wedding where the fiddler played until the roof beams tapped their feet. Someone remembers a winter when the river rose and then froze, and people skated to each other's doors. Loss walks in each story like a quiet dog, and so does joy. They do not fight. You realize again that you would lose, and it feels like resting.
Losing is permission to be taught by wood and light. Your cleverness cannot move the ball after it leaves your hand. Your fear cannot keep the skittles standing. Your hope cannot raise the lantern higher. All you can do is stand here and be honest.
With your weight, your aim, your release. The last roll of the evening belongs to the old man who leans his back on the barn wall as if to keep the building from floating away. He lifts the ball the way one lifts a loaf to judge its bake, for weight and sound. He sets his feet on the floor he helped level in a summer before the one you were born to. He rolls. The ball travels the center path and persuades all but one skittle to agree. The last pin wobbles and then stands stubborn. He bows to it a little. Everyone laughs the way the river laughs when it finds a smooth stone. Lantern light lays warm strips on faces and hands. The ball is put away. Skittles are stacked like sleeping geese. The barn goes darker. Night rises. You feel a closing that is not an end, like the last note of a tune carried long by a bow. Before the door is shut, someone speaks as if finishing a prayer. Rest well tonight. May your breath roll steady, and may your worries fall in gentle order, one by one, like pins, in the lantern glow. Morning returns in a shawl of grey. The meadow is beaded with dew, each blade of grass holding its own world. Breath shows for a while, and voices come soft, as if not to break anything that can be left whole. Here, men and boys, and sometimes women meet to test themselves in a way that asks as much kindness as strength. Wrestling is older than bread. Two bodies agree to be honest with each other. Hands seek grip. Cloth, belt, wrist, the small of the back. Feet find purchase in the slick. There are rules, some spoken, some kept in bones. Do not break what cannot be mended. Do not boast. Do not forget to laugh. The meadow nods and keeps its counsel. You watch a pair circle, eyes soft, shoulders loose. They are friends. They have carried beams together, lifted a wagon wheel out of mud, borne a neighbor on a bier. Now they lean in and test. One grips behind, the knee. The other answers at the elbow. Balance becomes a song you hum with hips and heels. The first tumble is a shared decision. Both land safe, then both spring like hares. The ground is a partner. It takes you and gives you back. Falling is a lesson you learn slowly in words and quickly with your ribs. Falling here is a friend that teaches you how to stand again. You,
Unused to such instruction, find yourself stiff in the wrong places. Your shoulders tighten, your ankles forget. You smile to cover what you have not yet learned. The meadow does not mind. An old wrestler with a shoulder like a knotted rope shows
you a hold that is less about power than about angle. He places your hand where a body turns whether it wants to or not, at the hinge between strength and balance. He moves you gently so you feel your line change, the way a tree feels a new wind. You laugh, surprised. He laughs, pleased. In that laugh is every match he has lost on purpose to teach, and every match he has won by listening. There is nothing cruel here, though there is effort. Grunts remain under the breath. A throw lands with a thump that makes the dew leap. Someone
rubs a shoulder and finds it whole. Someone shakes dew from their hair and becomes younger. The sun lifts the mist and shows the river turning at the field's edge like a silver snake that has never bitten anyone who did not step too close.
are invited to try.
You do not refuse. A hand takes your sleeve and another cups the back of your neck in a way that holds and does not seize. You set your feet, you lean, the world simplifies. Left, right, weight, air. You are lifted a little, not much, just
Enough to remind you that you are held together by more than pride, and you are set down again, not hard. The ground whispers through your shirt. Your heart laughs for the first time today. A child imitates in the margin, grappling a friend with exaggerated fall. An old woman watches, and when a grip looks wrong, she scolds with a tongue that can move a stubborn cow and a stubborn man in the same hour. Tea is poured from a blackened pot. Bread is broken. Wrestling is not separate from breakfast. It is breakfast in another tongue. When mist burns off, you feel your muscles relax in places you didn't know they kept anger. You feel your bones. Admit their carrying has limits, and those limits are ordinary and safe. You find yourself grateful to lie back on the wet grass and watch cloud sheep drift toward the wood. Someone nudges your boot with theirs, a small query. Good? You nod. It is. You would lose here as you have elsewhere. Your strength is a city strength, a sitting strength, a lifting of words. This is the countryside's grammar. Shoulder to earth, earth to sky, sky to breath. To learn it, you'll need mornings like this. Dew in the cuffs, hands on hands that mean well. You will not hurry, you will not count. You will grow into it like a tree grows into its own shadow. By afternoon, the common is a sea of feet. The ball is stitched leather, stuffed with rags and hope. People gather not because a proclamation called them, but because days, like rivers, make their own eddies. Laughter piles, shouting arrives and is nothing like anger. The dogs agree to keep an eye on things. There are goals of a sort, hedge to hedge, tree to gate, but they shift with the mood of the hour. This ball is a rolling village. Who joins is on your side, who stands becomes the other. The rules are few and present. Do not break, do not bite, do not forget the old man's fence, and do not drop the ball in the river unless you want to see everyone running. You join and are swept. The ball brushes your shin and you learn immediately that shoes talk and yours are strangers here. The ground's small knobs, the hidden holes left by waters, the humps of root, these are known to others the way they know their own kitchen floors. They cut around roughness like water around stone. You stumble and laugh and keep moving. Faces shine with that good work that isn't work. A girl with a ribbon holds back her hair and rushes 3 paces faster than the boy beside her. A man with a salt beard faints with a shoulder instead of a foot. A woman wearing a grin wider than the common itself slips the ball between 2 walking oxen and nearly reaches the gate before someone yelps a compliment that doubles her over with laughter. You would lose, yes, but you seem less concerned about losing than about missing a turn. The ball comes close, then spies a better story and follows it. You do not mind. Your lungs are doing a thing you forgot they could do, filling all the way. Your legs remember how to be trustworthy. Your throat remembers joy that does not lodge. Afterward, the game swells and shrinks. It surges like wind through corn, then swirls and pauses like smoke around a roofline. Children fall and bounce, mothers scold and then run faster than the young men. The ball flies off toward the ditch, and 20 people shoot after it like starlings changing their mind at once. When it returns, it is grass-stained, and so are you, and so is the day. At the edge, a fiddler spins a tune without strings, with only his mouth because his hands are full of a baby who would rather be a melody than still. A man with a limp shouts plays that no one follows and cheers anyway. Someone passing with a cart stops, sets the handles down, and raises a palm that says just once. He taps the ball with a tenderness that is also skill, and it goes exactly where it should. The sun leans hard into the west. A long shadow lifts from the elm like a sheet being shaken. Sweat cools on your back, and your heartbeat writes a poem under your ribs. The last rush happens by habit. You pour yourselves toward a line that is mostly imagination and partly respect, and when the ball tips across it, there is a sound that is not victory, but relief. A small choir of ah and oh and right. You walk in circles to slow your breath. You share water from a jug. Someone gives you a torn piece of bread, and you take it the way a sacrament is taken, with thanks. The common is stamped with footprints that will fade by morning, and the game leaves a shape behind that will not fade. An hour when bodies remembered the oldest rule, be together. Night walks in, not shy, not proud, just home. The alehouse gathers light and gives it back through the door, laying a warm stripe on the lane. Inside, benches creak as people settle, tired in the way that invites stories. The fire keeps a low, conversation going with the logs. Everything smells of malt and smoke and rain shirts hung near heat. Bones clack in a wooden cup, a sound like teeth learning to laugh. Dice roll and little cubes tell their truths as if they were prophets with limited jurisdiction. Hazard, tables, knucklebones, words chosen by other rooms in other towns, live here as simply a throw. The board is pitted from years of hopes. The cup is dark with the oil of hands that loved risk in gentle amounts. You sit with 2 men who look like cousins whether or not they are. They make room the way a loaf makes room when it is cut. offering the best part of their attention and nothing more than you need. One shakes the cup with a respectful wrist. He lets the rattle sing once, twice, then soft. He tips the bones out, and they go skittering like hens across a yard, stopping in a pattern that means more than you'd think. The house does not roar. It breathes. A wind lifts the corner of a mouth. A loss turns a palm up to accept another try. Small coins move, then move back. The alewife watches everything the way a shepherd watches a hill. No single sheep is the story, the flock is. When laughter crests too high, she lays it flat with a look as warm as it is firm. You try to toss as they do, with fate and fairness in equal parts of your wrist. The bones show you a number that seems unlucky, and then shows you how wrong you are. Unlucky is only a word for a plan that wanted to be the only plan. Here there are other plans. You roll again and find a friend in the fall. Elsewhere by the fire, someone teaches a child to count by pips. 1 and 2 and 5, she says, touching each dot the way one touches beads in a rosary. The child smiles at the story the dots make, a story that goes, maybe next time. A man near the door plays at tables with a woman who keeps beating him because she has already lost harder things and learned how to rest her hand before moving. A small fight nearly starts and then does not, because the old man at the end of the bench coughs once in a way that means enough. He tells instead the tale of a set of bones carved from a shepherd's pipe that always rolled 3s when you were kind and always rolled 1s when you were proud. Everyone knows it is a lie.
Everyone lets it be true for a night. They drink to it.
So do you. The fire licks the edge of the log and finds a secret pocket of sap, a quick flare, a quiet pop, to remind you that chance lives in all things that once were alive. You hold the cup again and feel its smooth inside. The bones settle.
Against your palm like small birds. You blow on them even though you don't believe in that.
It is good to do useless things when they tie you to others. You lose more than you win, and because of that you hear more than you would have if you had been busy counting. You hear a woman tell a friend she wants to plant flax again this spring,
even though last year's bleach did not take. You hear a man say he dreamed of his father in a shirt that did not belong to either of them. You hear a boy ask if stars make noise and his mother answer, only when we forget to listen. You put your
coins away. You put your hands on the warm table and let the hours loosen you like old knots. The dice sleep in the cup. The house breathes. The door lets in a stripe of cold and then shuts it out. The fire's last blue holds on, unnoticed by most, noticed by the few who stay to clean, to bank coals, to finish a story that has no real end. Snow comes late in the year, and when it does, it is a careful hand at first. Roof lines grow soft. The lane becomes a squeak. The river wears a new mood and pretends to be slow even when it moves under its own white cloak. Inside, the ale house tightens the circle. Light is more precious and therefore more generous. The fiddler comes because he owes and because he loves. His bow is a piece of horse and wood and years. He draws it across strings and ties the room together in one long knot you don't want to unpick. The tunes are old and new. One is about a miller who lied. One is about a girl who ran. One is about the river, which never lies or runs away, it only goes. People play smaller games in winter. Fingers are too cold for long draws and long throws. They flip pebbles. They bet on the color of the next person who opens the door. They guess what the fiddler will play next, and pretend to be shocked when wrong. They hum, they mend, they watch. The window where frost draws 9 men's Morris with its own delicate hand. You sit near the hearth and feel heat on your shins. Your back is still cold, and it is good to be half and half, reminded you have 2 sides. An old woman tells you this is the best time to learn to lose when the world itself is honest about limits. Night is long. Food is less. Wood is counted. Work slows or shifts. People have time to know they are not the center of things, only part of them, blessed by that fact. The fiddler's thread runs through the room, stitching cuff to cuff, ear to ear. He plays a tune that sounds like Ball on the Common. He plays another that sounds like Skittles by the lantern. He plays a slow one that sounds like an arrow finding straw. He plays a crooked one that sounds like bones in a cup. The tunes braid a year into a single rope and fling it gently over the rafters to hang like a charm. You think about how far you've come from the first night on the green. You have not mastered anything. You have acquired something better. A fondness for the angle you miss by, a friendship with the wind, a conversation with wood that never ends. You do not need to win. Winning would end a story. Losing keeps telling it. The ale wife hands you a bowl and says, "Eat." You do. It tastes of roots and salt and patience. It warms you under the place the bowstring touched your cheek months ago. You close your eyes and listen to the part of the tune where the fiddler rests the bow on the string and lets it think. That is your favorite moment, that small pause where everything could go anywhere and chooses to go here with us. Snow gathers at the sill and then slides. Someone opens the door for a latecomer and lets in a choir of cold air. The room sings. Back, louder, warmer. Someone stands to dance and sits down instead. Someone sits to think and stands because the thought arrived too fast to hold. The room is a field of decisions that do not hurt anyone. It is a school for being alive. You leave before the end because there is no end. You take the fiddler's thread with you, a little stuck to your coat. Outside, the stars sound like silence you can trust. The river does not freeze completely because it has work to do. The snow makes a path of its own weight. You follow it without needing to see where it began. Night is a blue shawl thrown wide. The thatch holds heat and keeps out rain, but it does not keep out the stars. They come through anyway, the way stories do, the way love does, the way breath does. You sit on the step and feel the world lean towards sleep, not in defeat, but in agreement. You think of each game and the way it asks you to live, quoits with its trust in release, the board with its faith in patient lines, the bow with its insistence on quiet, skittles with its devotion to terrain, wrestling with its lesson in falling, the ball with its glory in being many together, bones and boards with their small, brave chants, the winter tunes that tie you to what you cannot see. Every one of them let you lose and still belong. The river says the same thing now it said the first day, carry less. The wind says what it always says, yes. The forest holds its breath and then lets it go so animals may sleep and wake without fear. Firelight has become emberlight, and emberlight has become dark, and dark has become a soft hand on your face. You have become someone who can be touched and not flinch once you imagined winning here. You imagine stepping onto the green and gathering points the way you gather words. You imagined applause. Now you imagine different. You imagine standing
At the line and letting the iron leave clean.
You imagine losing by an inch and learning by a mile. You imagine missing and hearing only kindness. You imagine your own voice giving that kindness to others. The village has not changed. It still ties roofs with hazel and hopes. It still counts lambs and loaves. It still listens for bells and river. The games will be there tomorrow and the next day, and all the quiet days you will never see. Somewhere, a child will make a mill on the board and lift a stone with gentleness. Somewhere, a ring will strike a peg and sing. Somewhere, a bow will hum in a slow chest. Somewhere, pins will fall like rain, and someone will bow to the last standing. Somewhere, two friends will lie in wet grass and look at clouds that will become sheep and then nothing, and it will be enough. You lie back and look up. The stars are a board you cannot play, a game you cannot lose. They are mills in every direction, threes in every line, pieces you do not have to lift because they lift you. You breathe in to your heels and out to your hands. You let the air move through you the way it moved through the hazel leaves. You let the quiet be loud. Bread will be broken in the morning. A door will creak in a tone you know well. A dog will thump its tail once, and the green will open like a polite book. You will stand on the same ground and be a little more grown.
Into it, a little more married to its rules. Your losses will be the dowry you bring. Your patience will be your ring. Before sleep takes you, you say this to yourself in the voice the village has given you. Rest easy now. The stars keep score. No one can see, and every soft breath you take counts as a beautiful win.